Hey my cupcakes, how are you all doing? So on today's episode of the O Ship Show, we are diving into the blooper reel of the Lost Golden Boys, which is a it's a Five Nights at Freddy's fan fiction comic that I wrote when I was a sophomore in high school, and now I get to talk to you guys about it. So to condense the story, which is about 13 videos on YouTube, which altogether would be around 3 hours to watch all of them. Spring Bonnie has been trapped for 30 years away by the dastardly Purple Man. Golden has been searching high and low for a secret crush. What happens when he finally finds him? Go watch those videos to find out. Or if you already have watched them or you don't mind, we're about to go into major spoilers ahead because I'm going to break down the comic and give some fun little overview of it. Okay, here we go. So we open the Lost Golden Boy comic with this very important poster, which comes up a lot in the comic. And we find out this is the only thing that Spring Bonnie has left to remind him of the good old days when he wasn't trapped, and he's currently very missing Golden. He's very lonely and is trapped in his lost room. And we also find out in the next chapter is that Golden is also missing Spring and he misses him. And Golden is actually the one holding Spring's red bow tie, which Spring gave to him when he got repaired, which is the last time Golden actually saw him, was when he took this bow tie. Golden has not actually been exclusively looking for Spring, though. He's actually also been taking care of the Fazbear crew, making sure they're all functioning well, which is why in this lore of the system that we see Golden hanging out with them, but not actually performing. He's just taking care of them. What happens next is that we find out that through a bit of shenanigans from Freddie and Bonnie, is that they started throwing around Chica's cupcake, and now the cupcake is missing. So Spring, and so basically what happens is that Golden is like, okay, I'll go find it. So he goes around and goes into the back forbidden section where the original Fazbear Diner is, which is where him and Spring used to sing together. And he's, unbeknownst to him, Spring has actually found the cupcake, and he's like, this is the first thing I've interacted with, and I have no idea what this is. So then, while Golden sees his old stage, he actually goes back on memory lane and remembers the last party that Spring and him attended. And who else attended this party? But none other than Purple Guy. And Purple Guy had chosen these 4 children, Zach, Emily, Hope, and Charlie, to take them out as the next ones. Luckily, though, because both Spring and Golden were active during this party, those children were not taken out by Purple, at least not to Golden's memory. And then what ends up happening is that Charlie, when the Golden Boys try to send the kids back home, Charlie insists that he does not want to leave Goldie because Golden is his teddy bear. And Spring, the ever flirt that he is constantly, flirts back and then says that Golden is his teddy bear. A bit of shenanigans happens where Spring decides that he wants to make sure Charlie's okay, so he gives Charlie his own Golden. And the reason why I bring this up is actually it's very important for the general lore of the story. I'm looking back at it, I'm not quite sure if it's the same time period as FNAF 4, but in FNAF 4, that is a main focus, is a Fredbear plushie. In this one, we are introduced to a Fredbear plushie and a Spring Bonnie plushie. Yeah. So then back in present time, after Purple attacks Golden, and Golden immediately gets very scared, and he escapes. Luckily, the Purple Shadows come in and they save the day and they make sure he's all right. So Golden is safe. So then Golden decides to look around, and that is when he finds Spring. So finally reunited, he decides he wants to confess his feelings. He gets nervous and chickens out, and then Spring hugs him, and just when Golden feels the courage to tell him the truth and tell him how he feels about him, Purple enters the room and possesses Spring's body. During all this, the shadow creatures decided that they were going to go make some food for Golden, help him feel better, and that's when the balloon children tell him that Golden needs help. They rush back to save him. And while this is happening, the cupcake is attacking Spring's body and attacking Purple to get revenge on Purple for being such a terrible creature. When suddenly, Springtrap's body freezes. His face goes plain. He doesn't move. Also, this face, the one that Spring has, in this shot, and the one where he's finally getting his possession over thing, where he looks like a little derp face. I drew that as a joke. I wasn't actually gonna post it, and then and then I was like, it looks kind of nice, and then I posted it, and people were like, that's the best thing in the universe, and I'm like, oh my god, I made that as a joke. It made me very happy. But back to the comic. So we find out that Spring has actually been training his mind to fight off Purple, and he's now finally able to escape from Purple and be free from him. This is completely unbeknownst to anyone outside of Spring's body, because all this is actually happening in Purple/Spring's mind. So what happens is Golden decides that it's the best thing to do is to give his lover a kiss, so that way Spring will come back. And Spring surprises Goldie by dipping him and giving him a deeper kiss. And Golden and Spring both are walking away blushing, but after now, what are we at? 3? We're at 2 kisses from these two? They've had so many kisses. But both of them still have not actually said the words, I care about you that way, or I love you, or I want to date you. So these two technically aren't dating yet. They're just having a bit of shenanigans and that lovely romantic tension. So as I said earlier, I wrote this comic when I was a sophomore in high school, which honestly, I absolutely loved it because it was just really fun. This comic was really sweet, and honestly, this comic's idea was just because, like, I love Five Nights at Freddy's, and this was my first comic that I really branched out and actually did more storyline, because the 2 comics before this, where Freddy and Bonnie get together, of course, are all Five Nights at Freddy's comics. Someday I'll do a comic that's not Five Nights at Freddy's. Right now, it's just FNAF. But with those comics, there wasn't really much plot. It was more like fluff, a little bit of flirting, like nothing like plot-wise. This was the first comic that actually had a lot of plot, and that I found was so much fun. It was challenging, it was tricky to figure it out. That, and the majority of this comic was actually was inspired by one scene, because at this time, this game, let me take a look here. So this comic ran from March 9th, 2015 to August 25th, 2015. So it only lasted a couple of months. But what really inspired this comic was that end scene. Because if you guys remember, this dates way back 2015, there was a like teaser trailer for the new Five Nights at Freddy's 3 game, where Springtrap is the main character. And in that scene, and in that like trailer, what you see is a Springtrap creature, or people had no idea what to call Spring Bonnie at this point, or Springtrap, whichever, it's the same person, but creature. People were calling him Frankenstein, they were calling him Spring Bonnie, Springtrap, Purple Guy, the Yellow Bunny, no one knew what to call this guy. And that first trailer scene that I think we actually saw him, at least one that I remember, was that we saw these like flashing lights, and we saw this like twitching creature in this black room. And then the more the game came out, we found out that it was that the Golden Freddy and Spring Bonnie apparently had a relationship, or no, not a relationship, but like they worked together, they sang together at the diner. And me, being a hopeless romantic, immediately was like, wait a minute, I see an angst opportunity. What if Golden had a crush on Spring? And what if he never got to tell him? And then Spring was trapped away for this whole time, and Golden is just waiting to tell him and looking for him. And I was like, it's beautiful. It's lovely. So when I had this idea, I was like, yes, it'd be so much fun. I'm like, this would be like star-crossed lovers who get reunited in the story. It'd be so much fun. I loved that idea. I thought it was awesome. And to be honest, at the time, there was like the fan art for Springtrap was mostly just him being scary, which I liked. But I was like, I want to see him with Golden. And Springtrap and Golden Freddy was not really a ship. Honestly, the shipping in Five Nights at Freddy's is either very, very much there or not there at all. So I was like, you know what? I'll do it myself. Literally, I was like, okay, here we go. And I already had the Instagram account, so I was like, hey, everything's gonna work. And then, oh my god, people loved it. In fact, this comic was honestly so influenced by people on Instagram, because like people would comment their ideas and suggestions, and most of the time those suggestions got into the comic. Like if I liked them enough, I'd do it. There was even a point in the comic where when did this happen? I think this happened in the middle of the comic where Golden is like going back through his memories and we see those 4 kids. I had a challenge. I was like, hey, whoever comments this name the most, I'll name those kids. So literally the people on Instagram named the 4 kids in the story. There's Emily, Zach, Hope, and Charlie. The everybody on Instagram was the one who picked those names because that's what they wanted. I really like those kids. I might want to bring them back at some point. Also, it's implied that Zach and Charlie are a thing because everything must be gay in my mind. But yeah, this comic was actually popular enough where it became a sequel. Well, not a sequel. It had a prequel and a sequel in it, which admittedly that will be the next comic that we'll dive into, and it's definitely a comic where I'm like, because you know how like it's like this whole thing of this going through this story is that I'm looking back and seeing what I used to create, and I'm like, I made some weird stuff, y'all. I made some weird stuff. But it's fun to look at. It's like, oh my goodness gracious, I'm crazy. So that comic's a little rough. I was going through a minute, but I can talk about that to you guys in this story. It'll be fun. But yeah, I'm so excited for that one. But yeah, so this comic, as I said before, ran from March 9th to August 25th, 2015. And it was actually on YouTube from July 17th. So it's actually almost, by the time I post this video, yo, wait a minute. Actually, we're gonna freaking check this calendar right now. I'm like, excuse you. When do I post you? Because I know I post the blooper video in July. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so by the time I post, this video will be posted on July 8th. That's literally a week before July 17th when I originally posted this video. Oh my gosh. But yeah, this video... I'm sorry guys, it took me so long to make this video. I got busy. Shit happens. I'm sorry. But yeah, this comic originally was my original plan for this comic, and I have it in my notes, is that I was going to be done with this comic by October of 2019. Yeah, but that didn't happen. Well, 2020, I mean. October of 2020. But the global pandemic completely knocked me out, which is why I actually had a 9-month hiatus, or 8-month hiatus. I was on hiatus from YouTube from October 11th, 2020 to May 29th, 2021. So I was gone for a while. And it was definitely due to a lot of things. The biggest thing was that I needed to finish school. It was my last year of school, and everything was high pressure, and everyone was just stressing, and it was a very stressful time, and YouTube didn't make the cut. I wanted it to. I really did. But all is good. I still had time, and I still did other things. Like, that's when I started YouTube. I still drew, and I'm getting up, and I started the idea of making my small business, which will be a thing soon. I'm still working on building that up. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this. Thank you so much for joining me for my little blooper reel. I love doing bloopers like this. It's just a fun little thing. It's just fun and reflective. And maybe someday I'll be able to reply to comments on here under the videos and stuff, but we'll see. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. The next comic day that we will have, because next week will be another more fun reaction video. The next comic date, I will post an extra comic exclusive. I will post an extra comic video that is exclusive to YouTube that will just be here. So stay tuned, y'all. Have a good day. Bye.